Welcome back, guys. This is Return to Tennis. I'm Aaron, and this is the year 2023 in review, including our favorite 10 rackets of the year. Check it out. As you can see, my collection has grown quite a bit. It's easily doubled. Shh, don't tell my wife. So, quick roundup, quick review how the year went. UTR was better. At a low point, we were at an abysmal 2.97. That was around the time period we were working on our second serve. We were trying to get rid of our little dink second serve that was getting killed and actually develop a legitimate kick second serve. So at that point, we were at a really low in ratings because we were basically double faulting points, games, whole matches away. But I refused to go back to dinking it. I would rather take a loss playing the way I should play than get a win by playing safe. But we finally turned things around. We ended the year, our high point was a 3.78, which is still not great, but it's a drastic improvement. We ended up at the very end at a 3.69. We lost like the last like 5 matches we played. We lost them all. We played much higher rated players, guys that were rated significantly above us those last 5 matches because we had gotten high enough that it was possible that would happen, and it did. Some of those matches I did okay. Others I didn't do well at all. Forehand was a big problem. We're working on it. We actually met with one of the best pros at the club about a week and a half ago, had a lesson, went over a lot of things that we need to fix. Stance, setup, footwork, swing path, everything. By the end of the lesson, we were actually having full-on rallies. I was hitting it really nicely. He was impressed with how quickly I adapted. So now it's going to be a matter of repetitions. We're going to get another lesson with him here in a couple weeks to review everything, because I'm sure there's things I've forgotten to do because now I'm kind of just repping on my own. So we're going to have another follow-up lesson with him, try to clean some things up before we get into the playing for 2024. We got about 4 or 5 weeks, no matches. So we're just going to work on trying to fix this forehand problem. That being said, what were my favorites this year? Now, not the rackets that are on this list aren't necessarily all from 2023. Some of them are. Others are, from the 80s or the 90s, the early 2000s. I played and mixed a lot of stuff. You saw that if you'd watched my videos. But here's what I liked best this year. So let's start with honorable mentions, right? Rackets that I really enjoyed, but I didn't feel comfortable taking into a match. First one, come here. The Boris Becker Delta-Core London Tour. Outside of it just being absolutely gorgeous. Cap grommets all the way around. Extremely controlled precision weapon. Super flexible. Why I didn't feel comfortable taking this into matches, 2 things. Drastically underpowered. Ground strokes weren't bad, but serve was not anything like I would need it to be successful. Isn't that right, baby? And it's a 55 RA, which I struggled with at the net because if I didn't have a nice, strong, stiff arm position when I went for the volley, the ball would just die in the strings. Like the frame would just give too much. I do enjoy hitting it. It is a fun hit. But ultimately, I didn't feel like I could play it. It just didn't have enough power for me to be able to take in. Served well, just not with a lot of pace. We're going to find that to be a recurring theme. So, Delta-Core London Tour, honorable mention this year. Next up, another one that I loved, but had the same problems as the Delta-Core. The Puma Super, another Boris Becker frame. right? Puma Super, 92 square inches, just a little bit smaller than the Delta Core at 93. Massive control, tiny sweet spot, heavy. The Delta Core runs about 337, 338 grams, which is a little heavier than I like. This one's over 340. Same issues, very flexible, about a 56 RA. Had problems on volleys. Served well, but again, not enough pace on the serves. Really was able to control the ball. Again, another precise, direct kind of stick, not meant for a big power. Now, if you were boom boom, that didn't matter. You could generate that power anyway. But I'm not. So I do love hitting it. It stays in my bag. I do pull it out every once in a while. It is a fun hit. But very flexible and drastically underpowered. Another favorite I had this year that I did not play was the Diadem Elevate V3. I don't know, guys. I was excited when it came out. I thought it was pretty decent, but in comparison to the other major players in the market that it's competing against, like the Blade or the Pure Strike, the Speed, I mean, it's the Radical. I mean, it can't compete with those. It is an improvement over this version 2. It is more comfortable. I like the cosmetic. The frame has a kind of a tactile feel to it on the paint. It's really kind of fun. I like that. It's kind of cool. It's an okay stick. It does most things okay. Several of the pros at the club actually have hit one of these because, of course, Diadem's always trying to promote their brand, which is good. None of them were really that impressed with it, unfortunately. I had a friend of mine come in during the holidays, during Thanksgiving. He's a 4-5 player. He has done some coaching. He plays with a Blade. He didn't bring his rackets. I said, well, hey, let's go to the club. We'll go to drills. There's a drills class. We can go to drills. We can hit some balls. It'll be fun. He said, great, let's do that. So we took this one, and we took the Yonex VCORE 95. He hadn't hit that one before. He felt those ones probably were going to be the closest to what he wanted because this was supposed to be a Blade competitor. He hit like 4 balls with this and put it in a bag. He's like, yeah, no, not even remotely close. He liked the VCORE 95, which isn't a surprise. It's a great racket. But definitely a step up. Definitely ultra comfortable, maybe a little muted at times, but definite move in the right direction for Diadem. Fortunately, they seem to be putting more and more focus on pickleball. So I don't know how much longer their tennis division will survive. But hey, you got to go where the money is, right? So, but still a nice racket, I've seen a couple guys at the club with them. They're a decent frame. My last honorable mention is the Angel React 96, the RC Pro. Very solid frame, ultra comfortable, of course. Runs about a 61 RA. I had to add some lead at the end to kind of beef up the swing weight and have it pull through the ball a bit better. But I'm still experimenting with this one. I'm kind of hot and cold with it. One day I hit it and I like it pretty well. The next day I can't seem to do anything with it. So I don't know. One thing I have noticed with Angel rackets in general, they take balls out of the air really well. Volleys, serves, overheads, blocking volleys, swinging volleys, any ball that I take out of the air feels amazing with every single Angel racket I have. But for some reason, I cannot duplicate that feeling, that contact feeling off of ground strokes, off backhand or forehand. I can hit them okay, but I don't feel that solidness in the frame as I do when I hit a volley or an overhead. So, I don't know, but this is a great racket. I think it's a nice addition to their line. I'm really excited for their Total Custom version 5 is now available. So if you were a fan of the Dunlop Hot Melt rackets, Angel is offering a modern version of a Hot Melt. You might want to go take a look, and it's customizable. So good idea to check them out if you know what you like. Those are my honorable mentions. So what made the top 10? Well, you know, obviously 10 of them. The React almost made the top 10. I did actually play a set with that in a match. I'd hurt my arm playing a racket that was too heavy. I needed something lighter, so I switched over to the React, and I played a set with the React. That's how I know how well it hits. Served really well. But it didn't quite make the top 10 this year. So what did? Well, let's start at number 10, right? We're going to count our way down, starting at number 10. Big release this year. A lot of people liked it. The Babolat Pure Drive 98. Impressive frame for Babolat. I usually don't like Babolat rackets. Very solid. A lot of power, but only a smidgen more control than I feel. It only has a little bit more control than the Pure Drive. I didn't find the control aspect to be overwhelming. Tons of power. I could absolutely murder serves with this racket. The problem was I couldn't get them in. It's too much power. I just could not pull the ball down. When I occasionally did, it was usually an ace because the balls just rocket out. Pretty decent spin for a power frame, actually. The spin on this one was solid. It feels like a lot of these modern day rackets do to me. It feels hollow when I hit it. So like the frame is just hollow. There's no density there. Just how, I don't know how better way to describe it. It's how I feel. A lot of the frames feel that way to me. But overall, not a bad racket. I mean, it's a good one for a Babolat. Like, it's the only Babolat I've actually kept. All my other Babolat rackets, I've sold them off. I did not like them. But this one, we're going to keep this one. I think it's pretty decent. We once in a while, we pull this out. We pull it out and give it a go. So, number 9, right? Number 9 was one that kind of surprised me. Is the Dane Pro 1 97. So this year, Dane offered a Pro 1 OS 107, kind of like the old Agassi frame in all black. It looks identical to this. And that was kind of cool. It was a new offer this year. So I got a hold of Dane. They're very good communication with them. I had an excellent experience. They did a BOGO for me. They sent me the Pro 1 OS, and my buy one, get one, I chose the 97. I didn't do well with the 107. I was kind of surprised. Too much power, very unstable backhand side. I hit a one-handed backhand, so if you're not hitting two-handed, it felt really unstable. So I took this out and gave it a try. Like all the Dane rackets right now, it is extremely comfortable. It has VCORE, which is layered foam. It's an octa-core, so it's got 8 layers of foam inside. Extremely comfortable. And it is a unibody, which means it's one piece tip to tip. So it flexes from the end of the handle, not from the top of the pallet, which means its RA is extremely low, which resulted in it having a little bit better power than the Delta Core London Tour or the Puma Super because the head size is bigger. But ultimately, the same issue on volleys. It would just die in the string bed if I wasn't really strong-armed with it. Volleys were horrible. Not that it wasn't maneuverable. It just didn't have any stiffness. It would just, the ball would just sink. So I played a few matches with it. Served okay. Not as big as most other rackets, though. That flex rating really drags down its power potential. But there were other reviewers of this. If you go over and check out, like Jonas at Tennis Nerd, he had several people that really liked this racket. It's not a bad racket. I still enjoy it. So it's one of those I pull out, just like the Babolat. Once in a while, I'll grab it and hit a few with it. Number 8, probably the most anticipated release of 2023, right? Everybody was excited for this. It was the Wilson Shift, right? Massive. This is the Labs version, 300 grams. I was really excited. A lot of people were really, really amped up to see what this was going to do. Massive spin, huge power. Probably the biggest serves I hit all year were with this frame. Just crushed serves. I found it to be unstable on the backhand. One-handed backhand felt unstable. They were okay. I could just feel some wobble there. I had difficulty with the flex of it. It has that flexing through the throat, which is built very much for a modern swing path. I don't have a modern swing path, so I wasn't really comfortable with how it came through the ball. I don't know if this is going to stick around for a very long time, guys. I could see maybe 2 or 3 generations of this racket, and then it's gone. I don't see anyone endorsing it. I don't see anyone at the club level playing it. So if I don't see anybody on the courts with it, and I don't see a big major pro endorsing it, I don't know how long it'll last. I like the concept. I mean, I like the idea of trying new technologies with the twist, with the way the throat flexes, but ultimately it wasn't for me. I just re-hit this, like, I think 2 days ago. And again, I was like, I was all over the place with it. I just not even close to where I can hit with the other rackets. But Easily the most anticipated release of the year. Moving on to number 7, right? Another spin frame, one that I liked actually much better than the Shift, although it's not nearly as popular, is the Dunlop SX 300 Tour. Great frame. Does it provide as much spin as a Pure Aero? Probably not. As an Extreme? Probably not. As a VCORE 98? Maybe not. But it's pretty decent. I mean, it offers a fair amount of spin. It's good power. It comes through the air really easy. Very maneuverable. Solid on serves. I served really well with it. Solid in the backcourt. Solid the net. It's an all-around great racket. I originally had it strung with Ytex Hexagon Red. Felt fantastic. Really enjoyed it. The strings wore down. I had to replace them. I put in this hybrid setup to try to soften it because it is a little stiff. Not as stiff as the Bobelot. The Bobelot's like a 71. Again, you have arm issues, stay away. The Wilson runs like a 68. This is a 67. I didn't like it with the setup. For some reason, I preferred this racket. I felt played better with a full bed of poly, soft poly. A full bed of soft poly seemed to fit me better on this one. I'd had a lot of good matches with this frame, though. But, again, not best for my swing style. I don't hit heavy topspin. So it's not the best for me, but I did actually hit some pretty good balls with this. And the bonus, you can pick these up like really inexpensively right now, as well as the Dunlop CX200. They're getting ready to replace them. New models coming out. You can grab this for like $100. I'd jump on that. So that's number 7 for me, guys. The Dunlop SX 300 Tour. Number 6. Kind of a surprise. I would have, I would have thought maybe it'd been a little more towards the front, is the Yonex Regna 100. I think I'd probably like this better than a 98. I will say this, it is one of the best 100s I've ever hit. Very solid through the ball. Excellent feedback. No matter where you hit on the strings, you'll know. If you mishit the ball up here in the corner, you can easily make adjustment on the next ball because you knew you hit it here. It does not have the dampening technology that the other Yonex rackets have. So it's a bit easier to feel how you're coming off, the ball's coming off the racket. Good power, good spin. I have the same problem with this one I do with most Yonex rackets, is that I just don't serve well with them. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the head shape. I just cannot generate the same kind of pace on serve with any Yonex racket that I've hit, including the EZONE. The EZONE was the closest I could get to actually hitting big serves. But these other ones just don't seem to do it. But it is a great frame. Is it worth what they're charging? I kind of feel like it's not. Charging $380 for one of these is a bit much. I got this as a gift. I wouldn't have paid that. Hopefully I'll be in Japan maybe next year. I'm going to try to pick up a 98. I heard the 98 plays a lot better. But that's number 6 on our list. So what's at number 5, right? We're into the top 5 now. Number 5 is actually a racket that was on my list last year. It's moved up. I actually played it. I went back to it, played it quite a bit. And it is the Head Speed Pro Graphene 360 Plus, right? Not the current one. This is the older one. I played this last year. I struggled with it on serve. I restrung it, gave it a second shot, and did really well with it, actually. I figured out how to dial the serve in, hit a lot of big serves with it. Solid at the net, very maneuverable, great on volleys. A little unstable for me sometimes in the backcourt, but overall not bad at all. I do enjoy the racket. The head size at 100, kind of like the Yonex Regna, is not. I don't like to play hundreds. I prefer a smaller head. I'd like to see the new speeds that are coming out. I'd like to see a 98, like a Speed Pro 98 in the new series. We probably won't, but it would be nice to see. I'd like to see them, dial one of these down a little bit in the head size. So that's number 5. We're into our final 4. Oh, one of my all-time favorites, right? So we've had some rackets from 2023, 2020, 2021, 2019, right? Okay, so how about like 1996, right? 1997. The Estusa Power Beam. The difference between this and like the Puma Super is the flex. Big difference is the flex. This is a 61 RA. It's not as flexible as the others. It allowed me to hit serves a little bit bigger, Still had a ton of control and precision, but again, ultimately it ends up being too heavy. So over 340 grams, and over an extended period of play, that really starts to wear my arm down. It's just too much weight. I need to be near that 330 range. I know it sounds like it's, you know, how much of a difference is it? It's really not a big difference, but when you're playing for an extended period, it's a big difference. So this is going back into storage. I'm actually going to keep this Puma Super in my bag just for fun. One of my all-time favorite rackets. This was the last racket I played before I quit playing altogether over 20-some years ago. And I loved it then, and I still love it now. But a little too much weight. I actually reduced the weight by taking the grip all the way down to the pallet and just putting a puffed up, kind of poofy overgrip on it. And that got it down to 342. It was 353. So massive weight on this racket, but fun to play, fun to play. We're down to the final three. Another throwback. The Yamaha EX 97, right? I'm not sure if this is a secret or if it's a resonance, right? But it is an EX 97, 333 grams. Very dense feeling frame. I mentioned a lot of the modern frames feel very hollow to me. These last like 4 frames don't. That's the big difference here. They all feel very solid. They have a density to them. This one does. Thinner beam, box beam. I don't know anything. It's 97 square inches. I don't know the RA. I don't know the stock weight. I don't know the balance. But what I can say is it feels like a modern racket. It hits like a modern racket, even though it has the density and the solidness of those old 90s rackets. Super stiff. This is the reason I backed off playing it, is because of how stiff it is. I loved how it came through the ball, but over time my elbow started to get really sore. It is, I don't know what the rating is on it. I cannot find any specs on it. If you out there, if you know the specs on this racket or have a link to where the specs are, please share it in the comments, because I have another one of these coming that's a EX97S that's all black. I don't know the specs on it, and nobody that I've talked to online has the specs for them. So one of the pros at the club hit it, said it was really great, but as soon as he hit the first ball he hit, he's like, holy crap, this thing is stiff. Yeah, it's really stiff. That's the only thing that really pulled me off of playing it further. I played several matches with it and actually played really well. It's just wears on my arm quite a bit. So I'm hoping the black one, the S edition, I'm hoping the S stands for soft and not stiff. We'll see. Final two of my favorites this year. The Yonex VCORE 95. This is the 2018 model. I actually have a brand new one, 2023, on the way. If you're in the market for a Yonex VCORE 2023 model, go to Tennis Warehouse Europe. They're on massive reduction right now. I got my 95 with shipping and strings, $182. If you go to Tennis Warehouse US, you're going to pay $260, and that's before taxes, without strings. So if you string it and pay tax on it, you're probably paying $290 plus here in the US. I got it for $182 out of Europe, out the door. The 98, the 100, the 95, they're all on a special reduced price, as are the new Technofiber T-Fights and TF40s. They're on reduced prices. They're like running $170. Tennis Warehouse Europe runs some of the best deals. Always go check there first. But anyway, this is the 2018 model. I actually just hit this morning. Really liked it. Smaller head, smaller sweet spot, good control, good spin, even decent power. I was struggling with it because the sweet spot's a little smaller, but I'm getting better at targeting the ball, so I'm going back to it a little bit. I loved it this morning. I was working on my forehand motions, hit some backhands. The only thing that kept this from being number one for me is I couldn't serve well with it. Just like all the other Yonex rackets, I could get serves in. They lack some pace. So I've got to figure out where the sweet spot is for my swing with this kind of head shape. I think it's something to do with that. But like, I can hit bombs with other rackets, but for some reason the Yonex rackets are always a little less on the spin, or a little less on the power. So one of my favorites. I'll be actually hitting this over the weekend some more while I wait on my 2023 model to show up. So very excited to get that. Last one, number one racket, right? This is probably going to surprise some people, or they're going to say it shouldn't be, and that I shouldn't put it at number one, but I did. And it is the Technifiber T-Fight 305 RS. Loved this racket this year. I played a lot of matches at the end of the year with it. Mixed results, won some, lost some, no worse or better than any of the other rackets I've played. Differences, I could hit some of the best backhands I've ever hit with this racket. Clean, deep into the court, pace, fantastic. Little less maneuverable than some of the other ones. The maneuverability is not as great as the Yonex or the Yamaha, but it's not bad. Serves were huge. I was able to hit flat serves, kick serves, spins, slice serves. Everything I wanted I could hit with this serve-wise. At the net, it was good. Backhands were great. The only things I struggled with were forehands, of course, and I struggle that with every frame I hit. So, no better, no worse. But I just love, what I love about this is it's a more modern frame, but it has that solid feel. It has that feel of density that the VCORE 95 has, that the Estusa has, the Yamaha has. They all have that feel of being dense, and so does this one. So I really enjoyed it, and it's foam filled. So the comfort, even though it's a higher RA than the current, the ISO speeds are like a 64, I think. RA, this ran a 67. So even though the RA is a little higher on this one, it's still very comfortable with that foam filling. They're great price right now if you can find them. I got mine at a place called Match Set here in Columbus. There's stores in Dayton and Cleveland. They're running great sales right now, and I think they're at Match Set. If you're in the area, they're offering an extra 15% off everything in the store through the end of the holidays. So I might end up with a couple more rackets before the end of the week. Who knows? We'll see. But I picked up a couple of these there because they were on discount at $129. Fantastic frames. So I'm really pleased with it. It's in my bag in the top pocket. And it's this one, the Yonex, and the Yamaha right now are my top three. So, but that is it for this year, guys. Last year for UTR, we ended up negative. We lost more matches than we won. Not so this year. This year we actually barely came out positive. We ended up with a 27-26 record for the year, which is an improvement for us. The goal next year is to get the forehand cleaned up, move up into the next maybe one or two brackets of players, and start putting together things a bit better and maybe get some big wins. So that is all for me this year. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing on my journey, putting up with my commentating, putting up with my sketchy reviews sometimes. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a great holiday and a great Christmas, and we'll see you in 2024.